When we look at the available public opinion polls, we are faced with a mass of data at one point of time and not in others, in one country and not in other countries, on one particular conflict and not in others, a mass of data which seems very difficult to handle. Yet, we want to know what importance should be attached to various arguments that one can hear in the discourse. Arguments referring to the risks, arguments referring to the purposes for which wars are being fought, arguments referring to the United Nations support or opposition. And all these things should be looked at together, because in the public debate, this is what happens. You have a debate and someone says yes, but then another said, but suppose this or that, and we want to recreate that debate. And we have developed a methodology in which I will not go, and I hope you will accept my conclusions for what they are, without asking me to explain how we arrived at them. And we looked at 4 different conflicts on which we have data from both the United States and Europe and other countries in the world, from 4 conflicts: Kosovo, 1999, war on terrorism, Iraq, 2002 to 2009, and Afghanistan. And in addition, one might look at the case of Libya, which seems to confirm most of our findings. Now, what happens if you look at them? You see that if you use this method, and we look at the results of the multivariate analysis, those who do not trust me should trust me for a while, but and those who don't care should be happy, because I do not have the time to explain to you what this is about. This analysis shows quite clearly that indeed, both in the United States and in Europe, the role of casualties is important. It does play a role, but it is mediated, it plays a role indirectly. It is mediated by the success of the action, by the purposes for which the action is being fought, by the absence or presence of international legitimacy. And if there is international legitimacy, people are more likely to support it, despite the casualties and the risks involved. So the argument that, yes, we, the leaders, want to undertake military action, we see that this is necessary and we have the means, etc., but the public will not support us on this, are mistaken. The so-called casualty argument is an argument to shrink away from taking responsibility, is my reading. However, if the public is not persuaded by the arguments, and is not persuaded by the argument that military force is necessary, it may very well be not because they do not accept the risks involved, not because they do not accept the casualties, but because they fail to see that this military force is going to lead anywhere. And this is why this morning I raised this question: are there any examples of successful and effective military intervention? And the public may well share that skepticism. I've sometimes put in one sentence what the problem is with the Europeans. The problem with the Europeans, I'm talking about Europeans in general now, is not that they are pacifists. It is because they are pessimists. They do not share the optimism that military force is an appropriate and effective tool to address pressing conflict. And this is a very sobering conclusion. Sobering because we fully realize that without a solution, an answer to that question, we are not getting anywhere. And public support may be there, may be irrelevant, but if these operations continue to fail, then I was interested in the question whether the public has learned from this experience as well in not supporting future military operations. I thought that people who thought that the operation in Afghanistan had been a failure, and we had questions on this effect, would be less likely to support future military operations. Having learned from this experience, in fact, I may be arguing that the public should be forgiven, but the public itself doesn't care. The public itself is more moved by normative considerations, more by the ethics of responsibility, by the ethics of good intentions than by the ethics of responsibility. This argument that past operations have failed does not seem to carry a great weight in determining whether people will support future operation. So, if governments want to intervene in Syria, they can go ahead, and the public will not say, well, you failed in Afghanistan, you failed in Iraq, we're not going to support this. Okay, this is how far as we can go.
Thank you very much.
Okay.